Antaeus was a giant and the son of earth goddess Gaia and sea god Poseidon. He would challenge all passers-by to a wrestling match. Whenever he touched the earth, his strength was renewed. This made him invincible as long as he was in contact with the ground. None of the passers-by were able to beat him, and he would crush them to death. He then used his victim's skull to build a temple for his father, Poseidon. One day, while journeying to Hera's orchard, Hercules, the son of Zeus, crossed paths with Antaeus. Like everyone else, he also challenged Hercules to a fight. The goddess of wisdom and warfare and Hercules' sister, Athena, advised him to lift the giant up from earth to make him lose his contact with his mother. Hercules, following his sister's advice, lifted him up and weakened his strength. Then, with his godly strength, he crushed the giant's ribs and killed him. For the ancient Greeks, wrestling was regarded as the best expression of strength out of all of the competitions, and was represented in Greek mythology by Hercules. It was the first competition to be added to the Olympic Games that was not a foot race. It was added in 708 BC. The competitions were held in elimination tournament style until one wrestler was crowned the victor. The term martial arts itself is derived from the older Latin term meaning arts of Mars, the Roman god of war, and was used to refer to the combat systems of Europe as early as the 1550s. In this video, I'm going to talk about the history of mixed martial arts, or MMA, the kind you see in the UFC. Martial arts have always been tied to warfare and often include the use of weapons. But for this video, I will be focusing on the unarmed side of martial arts, the kind used in sports and competitions. For this video, I'll stick to the Western history of MMA. Of course, the Eastern traditions are just as important, maybe even more so. But with the scope of this video, I can only cover the Western half. If this video does well, I may make an Eastern history of MMA as well. Okay, so let's get back to it. Pankration was an unarmed combat sport introduced into the Greek Olympic Games in 648 BC. This was very similar to MMA. The athletes used boxing and wrestling techniques, but also other techniques such as kicking, holds, joint locks, and chokes on the ground, making it very similar to modern mixed martial arts. These combat sports were dominated by large, strong men and did not have any weight classes. Furthermore, death was quite frequent. In fact, the ancient Olympic Games held that an athlete was free of legal responsibility were he to kill his opponent during a match. For the ancient Greeks, combat sports demonstrated athleticism, bravery, strength, and determination, all attributes that the Greeks prized. For them, it represented the struggle between order and chaos, and symbolized an individual's quest for self-improvement and virtue. In a speech from 1908, Pierre de Coubertin, the founder of the modern Olympics, famously said, "The purpose of these Olympics is less to win than to take part in them." But the ancient Greeks had a very different perspective on their Olympics. A 2nd century CE inscription found at Olympia reflects this. Agathos Daimon, nicknamed the Camel, from Alexandria, a victor at Nemea. He died here, boxing in the stadium, having prayed to Zeus for victory or death, age 35, farewell. For the ancient Greeks, competition wasn't just about participation, it was about glory. The Romans favored blood sports, particularly gladiator contests and boxing, which evolved from Greek martial arts. Gladiator fights were both entertainment and punishment, with professional fighters gaining fame and rare survivors of death matches earning pardons. Most gladiators were war captives who preferred fighting to slavery. It was around the 1st century the Roman elite started thinking gladiatorial events as problematic. When Seneca, a 1st century philosopher, visited the Colosseum, he witnessed a nearly empty stadium and wrote that he felt more greedy more cruel, and more inhumane when he came home. These spectacles also carried deep trauma for early Christians, many of whom were brutally thrown to lions or killed by gladiators simply for practicing their newfound religion. Christians viewed gladiatorial events negatively as their faith emphasized non-violence. Gladiatorial games were officially banned by Constantine in AD 325 as Christianity became the dominant religion of the Roman Empire. The final gladiator schools were shut down by Emperor Honorius in AD 399. When we talk about the fall of the Roman Empire, we're referring to the Western Roman Empire. The Roman Empire in the East continued as the Byzantine Empire. So, after the fall of the Western Roman Empire during the Middle Ages, people weren't too enthusiastic about violent sports. Athleticism was mainly seen as a way to train soldiers, focusing on building mobility and combat skills rather than for fun or competition. This distaste for violent sports was likely a result of the spread of Christianity. The Renaissance came right after the Middle Ages and was all about rediscovering the ideas and values of the Greeks and Romans. During this time, there was also a big revival of martial arts. For example, Shakespeare included a discussion of the difference between the English and Italian way of sword fighting in Romeo and Juliet. In 18th century England, boxing transformed from a rough pastime into a respected sport. Figures like Jack Broughton played a key role. They linked boxing to Greek and Roman ideals of masculinity and honor. The sport became a symbol of English identity. It was used as a measure against foreign femininity. England's African population also embraced prize fighting, also known as bare-knuckle boxing. Former slaves saw it as a path to wealth and social mobility. Tom Molyneux, an American-born ex-slave, became a legend. His 1810 fight against champion Tom Cribb made history. Both were widely viewed as champions of England and were watched by as many as 15,000 people. In America, combat sports faced criticism from Puritans and Enlightenment thinkers like Thomas Jefferson. He saw boxing as corrupting influences brought over from Europe. But despite these objections, illegal blood sports like bear baiting, cockfights, and prize fighting thrived in the 19th century. Bare-knuckle boxing became popular with the help of the National Police Gazette. The Police Gazette was an American magazine founded in 1845 under publisher Richard K. Fox. The paper was known for creating controversy to sell stories. John L. Sullivan was the undefeated Irish-American heavyweight champion. To gain popularity, Fox antagonized Sullivan through his paper, setting up challenges to dethrone the champ. This led to an iconic bare-knuckle match in 1889 against Jake Kilrain. After 75 grueling rounds in the Mississippi Heat, Sullivan emerged victorious. It was the last major bare-knuckle fight, marking the end of an era. The modern Olympics started in Athens in 1896. It revived boxing and wrestling, but excluded the ancient art of pankration. The games aimed to bring nations together, even in a time of widespread imperialism. By the 20th century, fighting sports had spread worldwide. Muhammad Ali, famous for his legendary boxing career, made history in 1976 when he faced Japanese wrestler Antonio Inoki. That groundbreaking fight helped pave the way for modern MMA. Today, the UFC leads the world of mixed martial arts, showcasing top fighters on a global stage.